There is a hidden crisis unfolding across America that most people haven't recognized yet, and by the time they do, may already be gone before early 2026. Millions are fleeing collapsing states, and the signs are spreading faster than officials will ever admit. I've sifted through census data, budget reports, internal migration numbers, and the truth is far more urgent than what you hear on the news. Today I'll expose what's really happening, and why number 7 reveals the most alarming warning every prepper needs to hear. Prepare now, while you still can. Number 1, Hawaii. Hawaii has always been painted as heaven on earth. But right now, that paradise is slipping out of the hands of the very people who built its soul. In just 1 year, more than 12,000 residents left the islands, nearly 1 in every 100 people. Not because of a storm or a volcanic threat, but because the economic reality has become too brutal to survive. When the average home costs $1.1 million and a simple gallon of milk approaches $8, you're not just living in paradise, you're paying a penalty for it. The wages of teachers, nurses, and service workers have barely moved in over a decade. While housing prices skyrocketed into territory that feels almost surreal, what used to be local neighborhoods are now rows of Airbnb investments, and what used to be community is now a scenic backdrop for tourists. But beneath the sunshine lies an even harsher truth. The heart of Hawaii is being priced out of its own homeland. Families who lived there for generations are packing their bags, not because they want to leave, but because staying feels like drowning. When the children growing up there dream more of Las Vegas than their own island, it's a sign the culture itself is slipping away. And this is where your preparation begins. Rising costs don't stay in one place, they spread. What's happening in Hawaii can happen anywhere. Start today by reviewing your own cost of living and identifying one essential expense you can secure or reduce before it becomes a crisis. Paradise isn't lost in a moment, it disappears slowly, one unprepared household at a time. Number 2, West Virginia. West Virginia was once the beating heart of working-class America, a land powered by coal, factories, and a spirit as tough as the mountains surrounding it. But over the decades, that heartbeat has grown faint. This state has lost population every single decade since 1950. In last year alone, more than 18,000 residents walked AWOL, entire small town erased from the map. The mines that once fed families and fueled the nation have collapsed or automated, and the promises of a coal revival dissolve like dust in the wind. What remains is a place where the average income sits 20% below the national average. Hospitals are closing. Schools rely on textbooks from 2003, and almost half the population struggles to find stable work. But the most painful part is the poverty is, the hopelessness settling over communities that once brimmed with pride. As one young resident said, the mountains surround you like arms, till you realize they're walls. When opportunity dries up, young people leave. They leave, businesses follow. What's left behind is nostalgia, memories, and a slow, steady decline that no one knows how to stop. This is the warning every American should pay attention to. When an industry collapses, a community collapses with it. You must prepare yourself long before the jobs disappear. Strengthen your financial safety net. Develop one skill that can earn you income anywhere, and stop relying on a single source of work. Take action today, because once decline begins, it rarely stops for anyone. Number 3, Illinois. Illinois was once a magnet for opportunity, Chicago booming, factories humming, and families arriving with dreams bigger than the skyline itself. But over the past decade, nearly 800,000 people have left the state, equivalent to wiping an entire city like Seattle off the map. And they're not leaving because of weather or wanderlust. They're escaping a financial squeeze that feels tighter every single year. Illinois has the highest property taxes in America, averaging around $9,500 per year, and a public pension crisis that has ballooned into tens of billions in debt. Instead of solving the problem, leaders keep raising taxes, forcing residents to pay more for services that feel like they're crumbling beneath them. Crime in Chicago remains 3 times the national average. Small businesses are shutting their doors, and families are trying to figure out how long they can hold on before the next bill breaks them. People describe Illinois as a luxury apartment with leaking pipes and no maintenance. You're repaying premium rates for a system that no longer works. And when the middle class packs up, the foundation of the state weakens. Neighborhoods go quiet. Schools lose funding. Communities lose their lifeblood. This is where your preparedness mindset must activate. Economic collapse often starts with rising taxes, shrinking services, and families quietly disappearing. Review your budget today. Identify the financial pressure points that could trap you the same way Illinois trapped its residents. Build a buffer, cut unnecessary debts, and prepare for the possibility of relocation. Don't wait until the bills rise faster than your income. Act now, while you still have control. Number for Alaska. Alaska's beauty is unmatched towering mountains, endless forests, and winter skies painted with the northern lights. But behind that breathtaking landscape lies a reality so harsh that even getting paid to live there isn't enough to keep people from leaving. Every year, Alaskans receive a dividend of roughly $1,300 from the oil fund. Yet nearly 40,000 residents have left the state since 2013. Why? Because daily life feels like a battle against both nature and economics. The cost of living is 24% higher than the national average, and something as simple as a gallon of milk can cost nearly double compared to the mainland. Service shortages or severe emergency response can lose to blizzards, and in some regions the sun disappears for 65 days straight. This isolation hardens people, but it also exhausts them. When an oil boom fades and jobs vanish, entire towns sink into silence. Many communities resemble post-apocalyptic snapshots: empty gas stations, snow-buried roads, and boarded buildings waiting for a future that never comes. As one resident joked, living in Alaska is like dating a beautiful person who never texts back, a painful truth wrapped in humor. Here's the lesson you must absorb. Beauty doesn't guarantee survival. If your region depends on a single industry, or if severe weather can cut you off from supplies, you must be ready long before crisis hits. Stock emergency food and water. Keep winter gear, blankets, generators, and fuel ready. Prepare alternative heating methods and ensure your vehicle is stormproof. Start today, because when nature decides to test you, preparation is the only thing that stands between you and disaster. Number 5. Connecticut. Connecticut has always carried the image of polished suburbs, stone libraries, white fences, and quiet tree-lined streets. It looks like the picture-perfect American dream. But beneath that elegant surface, people are quietly packing up and slipping away. In the past decade, the state has lost over $12.6 billion in net income as middle-class families migrated to more affordable states. And it's not the wealthy fleeing, it's the workers who once kept this place alive: teachers, nurses, engineers, and small business owners. The problem is simple but devastating. The lifestyle stayed expensive while the wages stayed stagnant. Property taxes average more than $6,500 a year, and the cost of living sits among the highest in the nation. Entire neighborhoods now feel like museums: rows of beautiful homes with for sale signs swaying on empty porches. Locals joke that Connecticut has become a museum of old money, a place where elegance exists, but the people who once gave it life have vanished. Cafes sit half empty, antique shops gather dust, and young families feel suffocated by a cost structure built for another era. Even its proximity to New York's supposed advantage has become a curse. As prices rose to mimic Manhattan, while wages did not, this decline teaches you a crucial preparedness truth. A high-income state can collapse silently when costs rise faster than opportunity. Don't wait for your own community to become a ghostly postcard. Strengthen your support network now. Review your housing options, cut fixed expenses where you can, and prepare for unexpected regional financial shifts. Take one step today. Build a plan that protects your home, your income, and your future before rising costs push you out like so many others. Number 6. Mississippi. Mississippi is the birthplace of the blues, a place where music, faith, and community once echoed through every small town. But today, that rhythm has quieted into something far more painful: exhaustion. For more than a decade, Mississippi has lost population every single year. And it isn't because people want to leave, it's because survival has become too hard. The median income sits at just $53,000, the lowest in the entire country, and 19% of residents live in poverty. Nearly half of its counties are officially classified as economically distressed. You can buy a house here for the price of a pickup truck, but finding stable work is far harder. Manufacturing jobs have vanished, agriculture has shifted to machines, and technology corridors skipped over the state entirely. Schools are short on teachers. Hospitals are shutting down. The internet flickers like the last bit of hope locals are trying desperately to hold on to. Everything feels like an echo of what used to be rusty bridges. Small churches, empty diners, and elders sitting on porches watching time move forward without them. Mississippi still has soul, still has heart, but heart alone can't pay the power bill. This is a critical warning for you. Poverty becomes a crisis when communities lose the ability to adapt. If your region shows signs of economic stagnation, you must prepare now. Build your own resilience by securing low-cost food sources, learning basic medical skills, strengthening community ties, and ensuring you have reliable transportation. Start growing a small garden, join a food share group, or build a neighborhood support plan. Take action before slow decline turns into sudden collapse, because once opportunity dries up, it rarely comes back. Number 7, Louisiana. Louisiana is a place of music, resilience, and culture, unlike anywhere else in America. But beneath the sound of jazz and the glow of festival lights lies a harsh truth the nation continues to ignore. This state is literally disappearing. Louisiana loses the equivalent of one football field of land every single hour due to erosion. And rising sea levels is a statistic that sounds impossible until you see the coastline vanishing in real time. And as the land melts into the Gulf, so do the hopes of the people living there. Each year, more than 30,000 residents leave, many of them forced out after one storm, too many. Since Hurricane Katrina, New Orleans alone has lost over 80,000 people, many of whom never returned. Not because they didn't love their home, but because they couldn't rebuild again, and again, and again. Every storm season becomes a cycle. Rebuild, repair, borrow, repeat. Meanwhile, the average income sits far below the national level at $57,000. And homeowners' insurance has climbed so high that families are forced to choose between protection and groceries. It's not just climate risk, it's survival fatigue. When your roof has to be fixed for the third time and your windows replaced for the fourth, resilience begins to feel like a burden instead of a virtue. This is your wake-up call. Climate pressure and economic stress combine to break communities. Whether you live near the coast, a river, or a storm-prone region, start preparing today. Review your insurance, map your evacuation route, secure emergency supplies, and build a flood-ready plan. Don't wait for the next storm to decide your fate. Control while you still can. Number 8, North Dakota. North Dakota was once the frontier of American opportunity, a land transformed by the oil boom, where small towns exploded with life, jobs, and promise. But like all booms built on a single resource, the silence afterward has been deafening. Since 2013, more than 40,000 residents have left, and the oil and gas industry has shed over 8% of its jobs in just a few years. Entire communities that once glowed with neon signs, packed diners, and crowded rigs now sit frozen in time, gas stations abandoned, motels empty, and streets buried under endless snow. The landscape is stunning in its own icy way. Steel blue skies, vast white fields, and cattle dotting the frozen plains. But beauty doesn't keep you warm, and it doesn't create opportunity. Winters here, our brutal temperatures can drop to minus 30 degrees Celsius, and winds whip across the land like nature's warning. For young people, there's simply nowhere to grow. For families, there's no stability. In some counties, there are more cows than people. And isolation becomes more than a feeling. It becomes a lifestyle forced upon those who stay. North Dakota teaches one of the most powerful preparedness lessons. A single industry economy is one disaster away from collapse. If your job, your town, or your local economy relies heavily on one sector, you must take action now. Build alternative income streams, create remote work options, learn adaptable skills, prepare for long stretches of isolation or power loss. Start developing at least one income source that doesn't depend on your local economy. In a world this unpredictable, your survival depends on your ability to adapt before the boom ends. Number 9, New Jersey. New Jersey sits between the power of New York and the beauty of the Atlantic coast, a place where opportunities should feel unlimited. Instead, it has become a state people are quietly running away from. In 2023 alone, 65,000 residents left, That's nearly 2,000 people every single week walking away from the life they built. And the reason is painfully clear. New Jersey has the highest property taxes in America, averaging around $9,500 a year, alongside a cost of living that's 14% higher than the national average. Add in rents approaching $3,000 for a one-bedroom in cities like Hoboken or Jersey City, and even strong earners find themselves suffocating. The state isn't poor, it has high incomes, solid infrastructure, and good public services. But here's the paradox. The price of living far outweighs the quality of living. Residents work 50 to 60 hours a week just to stay afloat, commuting across toll-heavy roads where even a wrong turn costs money and patience. People describe it as being trapped in the Jersey vortex, working in New York, paying in New Jersey, relaxing nowhere. The nostalgia is strong, but nostalgia doesn't pay the electricity bill. And families are realizing that love for a place cannot overcome constant financial pressure. This exodus carries a warning for you. When the cost of survival starts rising faster than your income, collapse becomes personal, not theoretical. Review your own financial environment. Calculate how much of your income is disappearing into housing, taxes, and transportation. If that number is rising each year, it's time to act. Cut your fixed costs, prepare relocation options, and start building financial buffers.
Ow.
Don't wait until your state squeezes you out. Prepare before the pressure becomes unbearable. Number 10. Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is one of the most beautiful lands under the American flag. Lush hills, turquoise waters, and a culture rich with pride and resilience.
Ow.
But behind the postcards lies a heartbreaking reality. Over 500,000 people have left since 2010, meaning 14% of the population has vanished in just a little over a decade. Not because they wanted a new life on the mainland, but because survival on the island became a daily battle. With a 41% poverty rate and an average income of just $22,000 a year, families live on the edge, even during calm seasons. And when storms hit, as they do every year, the fragile infrastructure collapses instantly. Power outages can last days, sometimes weeks, and internet access dies. Supermarket shelves empty within hours. And worst of all, the people have no real political voice. Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory, yet its citizens cannot vote for president and have no full representation in Congress. They hold an American passport, but not American power. That feeling, being American enough to pay the price, but not American enough to get the help, has pushed an entire generation onto planes bound for Florida, Texas, and New York. Locals describe the island as being loved like a distant relative, cared for only when convenient. The lesson for your preparedness is urgent and clear. Don't rely on government stability or infrastructure to save you. Build your own resilience. Invest in off-grid tools, solar power banks, water filters, and backup lighting. Create a stash of essential supplies that can carry you through multi-day outages. Cast your communication backups. Hope is not a plan, and Puerto Rico shows exactly what happens when systems fail faster than people can recover. Take action today before a crisis chooses for you. Number 11. Food security. If there's one lesson every collapsing state teaches us, it's this. When systems fail, food is the first thing to disappear. Hawaiians watched groceries skyrocket as supplies struggled to reach the islands. Alaskans learned that a storm can delay shipments for days. Puerto Ricans saw shelves empty within hours after a hurricane. And in places like Mississippi or West Virginia, low wages make even basic groceries feel like luxuries. Food security isn't optional, it is the foundation of survival, especially in an economy that is straining under inflation, supply chain shortages, and global instability. Your goal is simple. Build a layered food stockpile that protects you from sudden shocks. Start with calorie-dense staples like rice, beans, oats, peanut butter, pasta, canned proteins, and root vegetables. Then expand into shelf-stable extras powdered milk, dehydrated fruits, canned soups, and freeze-dried meals. Rotate your food using a simple system. Eat what you store and store what you eat. Add foods you already enjoy to avoid waste and stress. But food preparedness goes beyond storage. Learn basic cooking skills using minimal resources. Equip yourself with a manual can opener, portable stove, extra fuel, and simple seasonings. Even during an outage, you should be able to prepare warm meals. And remember, in every crisis, fires, storms, economic collapse, those who have food become pillars of their community rather than victims of the moment. Start today. Buy to long-lasting food items on your next grocery trip. This small step builds momentum, and over time, transforms into a safety net that can carry you through any emergency. Your future security begins with the shelves you fill right now. Number 12, water and sanitation. If food is the first thing people panic buy, water is the first thing they truly cannot live without. Every state in crisis, whether it's Puerto Rico facing week-long outages, Louisiana drowning in storms, or Alaska battling frozen pipes, shows how quickly clean water becomes the most valuable resource of all. When the lights go out, pumps stop working. When storms hit, contamination spreads. When infrastructure crumbles, water turns from a convenience into a survival challenge. Most people assume their taps will always flow, but that illusion breaks the moment a disaster hits, and by then it's already too late. Preparedness starts with storage. You need at least 1 gallon per person per day, but realistically, you should build a 2-week reserve. Store water in food-grade containers, rotate it every 6 months, and keep sealed bottled water as your immediate use backup. But storage isn't enough. You must also be prepared to purify whatever water you can find. Invest in multiple layers of protection, portable filters, purification tablets, a simple metal pot for boiling, and a gravity-fed system for long outages. Sanitation matters just as much. When water systems fail, disease follows. Without clean hands, clean cooking surfaces, and proper waste disposal, even minor illnesses can turn deadly. Stock baby wipes, bleach, trash bags, gloves, and basic hygiene items. Make sure you have a bucket toilet set up for emergencies. Your action step begins today. Store at least 14 gallons of water per person in your household and buy a reliable water filter. When the world gets chaotic, clean water becomes the dividing line between survival and disaster. Prepare now while the tap still runs. Number 13. Energy and heating. If there is one weakness exposed across collapsing states, it's the fragility of their power systems. Puerto Rico can lose electricity for days or even weeks after storms. Alaska's brutal winters turn outages into life-threatening emergencies. Louisiana's grid buckles under hurricanes, and even parts of the mainland face rolling blackouts during extreme heat or cold. When the grid fails, everything you rely on, heat, light, communication, refrigeration, disappears in seconds. Most people don't realize how quickly comfort turns into crisis until they sitting in the dark, hearing the wind outside with no backup plan and no way to stay warm. Preparedness begins with layered energy solutions. Start with small essentials: power banks, rechargeable batteries, solar lanterns, and battery-powered radios. These keep your critical devices alive, and build up to mid-level backups, like solar generators or propane heater stools that can power a fridge, cook a meal, or warm a single room. If you have the ability and budget, a larger generator with safe fuel storage can be a literal lifesaver during long outages. Heating is just as important. In cold regions, hypothermia can set in within hours. Stock thermal blankets, wool clothing, warm sleeping bags, and safe indoor heating options. In hotter states, focus on heat mitigation, shade setups, battery fans, hydration tools, and cooling towels. Your action step is simple but powerful. Choose one critical device you rely on every day: your phone, CPAP, medical device, or fridge, and secure a backup power source for it this week. When darkness hits and temperatures drop, the people who planned ahead stay calm. The ones who didn't are left scrambling. Prepare now, because the next outage won't wait for you to be ready. Number 14. Money, jobs, and legal prep. If there's one pattern repeated across every collapsing state, it's this. When the economy cracks, families fall long before governments admit there's a problem. Illinois drowned under taxes. Mississippi suffocated under low wages. North Dakota collapsed after an oil bust. Puerto Rico was crushed by poverty and outages. The warning is clear: you must build your own safety net before the system around you fails. Waiting for help is not a strategy. By the time officials acknowledge a crisis, the damage has already spread to jobs, savings, and entire communities. Start with your finances. Build an emergency fund that can cover at least 1 month of expenses, then slowly grow it. Cut high-interest debt now, before inflation or job loss turns it into an anchor. Digitize and organize your critical documents, IDs, insurance, medical records, home titles, birth certificates, so you can evacuate or relocate without losing access to what matters most. Use both physical folders and cloud backups for redundancy. Next, evaluate your income. In states that collapsed, people relying on one industry were hit hardest. Prepare by developing one flexible skill that can earn you money from anywhere: remote work, freelance trades, digital skills, repair work, or basic medical or caregiving abilities. The world is unpredictable, but skills give you mobility and independence. Finally, know your escape routes financially and legally. Understand your rental rights, insurance coverage, evacuation plans, and the total cost of living in your area. Your action step: create one secure folder, physical or digital, with your most important documents before the week ends. When crisis hits, the prepared don't panic, they move. Number 15 Community. Skills and the decision to stay or go. Every collapsing state shares one final, painful truth: no one survives alone. In Hawaii, locals watched their culture fade as outsiders replaced entire neighborhoods. In West Virginia, the young left and the elderly stayed behind, creating towns full of memories but empty of support. In Louisiana and Puerto Rico, storms tore communities apart faster than they could rebuild. In places like Mississippi and North Dakota, isolation, whether from poverty or freezing emptiness, became as dangerous as any disaster. When a community weakens, the individuals inside it become vulnerable. The strongest prepper, ISNT, the one with the biggest stockpile at S, the one with a network, this is where your long-term resilience begins. Start developing core survival skills that can't be taken away. Basic first aid, gardening, water purification, tool repair, cooking from scratch, communication during outages, and neighbor-to-neighbor support. A single skill can mean the difference between helplessness and confidence when systems collapse. Even more importantly, build connections. Get to know your neighbors, join local groups, attend community meetings, and create circles of people you can trade, share, or strategize with when crisis hits. But there's another reality you must face. Sometimes survival means leaving. Every state in decline showed the same pattern: people waited too long, hoping things would improve. Your job is to recognize the signs early. Ask yourself, are jobs disappearing? Are costs rising faster than your pay? Is crime increasing? Are services shutting down? If the answer is yes, it may be time to prepare an exit plan. Your action step is simple: complete a Stay or Go checklist tonight. Strength, awareness, and community. These are the tools that will protect your future. The truth is simple: no one is coming to save you. Every state we explored shows what happens when systems weaken, costs rise, and communities crumble. But you don't have to become part of that collapse. Preparation is power, and every small step you take today builds the security you'll rely on tomorrow. Start with what you can. A little food, a little water, a plan, a skill. Momentum will follow. If this message opened your eyes, share your thoughts below and take action now, because hope is not a strategy, but preparation is.